Hi, this is Laura, and I am talking about equations of circles, the McDougall-Little textbook for geometry, chapter 10. And this is 10.6. Again, equations of circles. This is one of my favorites. Now, every shape has an equation. Some are more complex and some are more simple. The more complex the shape, the more complex the equation. So now here, circles are a simple shape, so they have actually a very simple equation. When we talk about circles, the easiest way to describe them is on the coordinate plane, which you see right here. And if we think about it, what actually changes for a circle? Well, if we look at this, the center of the circle can be here, or moved over here, or over here, or anywhere. So the center can move around, that can change. Also, the size of the circle can change based on its radius. So if the radius is longer or shorter, the circle gets bigger or smaller. So here, if we look at this tiny little circle in the middle that's red, we can see that the center of that circle is at 0, 0, and the radius is 1 unit. So if we look at that, if we look at this, being the variables that change are going to be the center and the radius, and we know that the radius is a distance, then we can use the distance formula to find the equation of a circle. And it's really very simple because it's based on the point on the circle is x, y, and the center of the circle is what we call HK. And actually, I don't know where the H and the K came from. It was probably some people with long beards in caves who first did math who figured that out. Um, and maybe it's Latin or something like that. I have no idea. But anyway, it's HK, so that is our center point, and that's what we use here as HK. And this is simply, as I said, it's the distance formula. So all we have to do to find the formula for a circle is we square both sides to get rid of that ugly radical, and here we go. It's r squared equals x minus h squared plus y minus k squared. And there are other forms for equations, and this is considered the standard equation of a circle. So if you are looking at your homework or tests, if they say find the standard equation of the circle, this is the format they want. Now, imagine if again we look at this circle here with the center at 0, 0, then all we do is h and k is 0, so it just becomes x squared plus y squared. You may be able to recognize this in various places in the future, so you want to make sure that you note that. Anytime you see an x squared and a y squared, it's probably going to be a circle. So now here's the easiest part of the circle is we have to pay attention to, again, the h, k, and r. So if you look at these equations right here, what do they tell you? Well, if it's x minus h, and here we have x minus 4, and y minus 2, that tells you that the center is at 4 and 2. We don't know what the radius is, but the center is at 4 and 2. You have to watch your signs, though, because what if we have plus signs here? That gets a little bit trickier, because that means the signs have been switched. That means in order to get this to be positive, it has to be minus -7, which means our center is actually at -7, -1. So that's going to be a little bit tricky. You want to pay attention to those signs. Again, if the center is at 0, 0, it's just going to look like this. We put zeros in there, and it shortens it up really nice. Let's try some of these. They're really quite simple, and you'll get very used to them if you do a few. Here's your first example. I've got the equation right up here. I suggest that if you're taking notes that you write it at the top of the page. Sometimes teachers make you remember these equations and sometimes they don't. But it's really good before you start things just to write it out. If you try and remember them, then sometimes in your mind things get a little jumbled up and you might get them wrong. So just before, if you're doing a section of a test that's on circles, write your equation right down on your notes or on your test paper. Okay, first example. Write the standard equation of the circle with center at -4, 0 and radius 7.1. Go ahead and pause, and I will give you the answer in a moment. Okay, here comes the answer. And it's very simple. We take our h and our k right here, that's -4 and 0. And remember our tricky signs. If it's minus h and our h is -4, it's going to be minus -4, which makes this positive. And it's at 0, so the k just goes away. And then we have 7.1 is our radius, and we square it. So our final equation is x plus 4 squared plus y squared equals 50.41. Very good. Very good. Let's try another one. Okay, this one is a little bit more complicated because as we look at our equation, which again I referenced up here, if we look at that and we know we have a center and a radius, and when we just plug those in, it's very easy. But we are missing something. We don't have the radius. Remember what we used in order to find the radius, or that we said a radius is a distance? So this time, there's your clue. You might have to use the distance formula. Give it a try, and I'll give you the answer in a minute. Okay, ready for the answer? Here we go. This point, 1, 2, is on the circle, and the center here, h and k, is 5, -1. So all we have to do is take our distance formula and plug that in. Here's our x, which is 1. Here's our h, which is -5, or 5, and we subtract it. Here's our y, which is 2, and our k is -1, so we have to be careful that we put that in correctly. If we do all the math right, we end up with r equaling the square root of 25, which is 5. Then all we have to do is plug it in. Here's our h, -5, or -5, our y, -1, and our radius, which is going to be 5, and we'll square it. So our final equation, x minus 5 squared plus y plus 1 squared equals 25. So once you do a few of these, it gets ingrained and it becomes very easy. Now let's try something else. We're going to go in a different direction. The equation of a circle is x plus 2 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 9. Graph the circle. This should be no problem. I want you to give it a try, and I'll give you the answer in a minute. Okay, here comes the answer. If this is our equation, we have h and k, and our radius of 9 equals r squared. So our radius squared is actually 9, which means our radius is 3. We need to know that. And if this is x plus 2, we have to watch those signs again. And we know that this is going to be minus -2. So our center, our x value is -2. And our y value then is 3. So all we have to do is go to -2, up 3, put our center, and then we have to just count in each direction 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then connect our dots as close to a circle as we can possibly get. Sometimes that gets a little bit tricky, but make as even a circle as you possibly can. And voila, you have graphed a circle. Now let's turn that into a word problem. Eek, no, yes, it's not that complicated a problem. Have no fear. So here we have example 4. A bank of lights is arranged over a stage. Each light illuminates a circular area on the stage. A coordinate plane is used to arrange the lights. Using the corner of the stage as the origin, the equation x minus 13 squared plus y minus 4 squared equals 15 represents one of the disks of light. First, graph the disk of light. And second, 3 actors are located at these 3 points. Which actors are in the disk of light? So you have to graph it first, and then you're going to have to plot these points and see which ones are in the disk of light. Pause, and I'll give you the answer in a moment. Okay, let's check this out. Here is our equation, which means we know our radius, if this is 16, our radius is going to be 4, and our center is at 13, 4. So we have to get our piece of graph paper, and we go to 13, 4, and we plot our center. And then we have to go 4 in each direction, and as best we possibly can, we have to sketch a circle. Then we plot each one of our actors, and we see which ones are actually in the light and which one, in this case, which one is not. Jolene is not in the light. So it says which actors are in the disk of light. I would say that would be Martin and Henry. So there you go. This is it for this lesson. And there's a lot more about equations of circles that gets more interesting as time goes by. But that is a lesson for another day. Now it's time for the quick quiz. What is the standard form of the equation of a circle? Do you know it now? It is going to be x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Write that down. Memorize it. Use it on a daily basis. Let's see, number 2. What are the coordinates of the center and radius of these circles? You can take a moment to figure those out. Pause if necessary. And the answers are, this first one here, the center is clearly at 0, 0 with a radius of 1, 2. So center at 0, 0, radius of 2. Doesn't tell us to put it in the equation, just what's the center and radius. Here, just because this is a 2, doesn't mean our center is at 2. It's at 2, 0, and our radius is 2, 4. So our radius is 4. Our center is at 2, 0. Finally, we're on the other side. We're going to go to negative 2, up 2. So our center is at negative 2, 2, and our radius is 2. And there we go for those. Okay, I'm going to, this is the last thing in the chapter, I think, but I will try and pull together a review. See you next time.